Fantasy sport fans, we are here today.
Hello.
What is up, peeps?
We are covering NFC South today.
NFC South. What? We actually have a division that we're covering with monster players everywhere, every corner.
Except for the running back position, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know about the running back spots in this division.
You know what, though? I know that there's one monster running back in this division, but we'll cover that.
Could be two.
Could be two, and there's no reason to say not. But I tell you what, Corey, what team are we covering first in the NFC South?
The Dirty Birds, Atlanta Falcons.
The Dirty Birds. Oh, you birds are so dirty. And I really don't know what makes you so dirty, but you're dirty.
It's
you're filthy.
They're Falcons.
I guess so.
I guess Falcons a dirty bird. I'm not really sure.
I'm not for sure either.
I thought, what, crows maybe a little dirtier than falcons?
I guess they're not taking too many bird baths.
There we go. Cheesy. All right.
Moving on.
Let's go to the quarterback position. Matty Ice, Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan.
That guy was an animal last year.
Yeah.
He played in all 16 games, had 4,700 yards, 32 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. I believe he had the highest QB rating in all of football last year, 99.1.
Oh my
Almost
gosh.
100 QBI rating. What else? He had 3 fumbles. He had a 68.6% completion rating. He's gonna be good. He's gonna be
no doubt. You cannot say that this is gonna be a bad player at all this coming year. He's going to be good. He's going to do good. There's no doubt about that.
If Matt Ryan's on your team, you should be happy.
Oh, of course.
Especially whenever you hear the guys that he's throwing the ball to.
Of course. And just leading on into that, who is he throwing the ball to?
Julio Jones. Julio Jones. That guy had 79 catches, 1,100 yards, almost 1,200 yards. 10 touchdowns. You know what he averaged per catch?
I have no idea.
You know
Tell me. Please tell me.
15.2 per catch.
Yo, fantasy sport fans, did you just hear that?
15.2.
I believe people out there in the fantasy world, to our fantasy sport fans, I believe your light bulb should be going on right now, and you should be going, I think I may be wanting to draft this guy.
When are you going to draft this guy? Into the second round, Are you going to be able to get him at the end of the second, or is he going to go mid?
You know what? I could definitely take this guy in the second round. As a matter of fact, I took him in the second round last year. And all more reason. I mean, the guy put up great numbers last year. This year, guess what? He's going to be more productive. He's going to be better.
He had good numbers at home. On the road, towards the end of the year, he wasn't
on the road
much.
towards the end of the year, it wasn't that bad. But early on in the year, dude, it was at home, he was great. On the road, he was garbage. End of the year, the second half of the season, it was switched. And not so much switched, but he became more consistent on the road and at home.
Who's the other guy?
Who's the other guy?
Who's the other guy that he switched back and forth with?
Hey, fantasy sport fans.
Roddy White.
Yeah, Roddy White. There you go, fans.
Did you know that he had 92 catches compared to Julio Jones' 79? So Matt Ryan actually threw it more to Roddy White.
Well, because it's Roddy White. He's still, even though you want to say Julio Jones is an animal out there, Roddy White is still the vet. He's still that veteran that people respect, look up to. Matt Ryan's played with him longer. And guess what? They have a great connection, and there's no reason to doubt why that's not going to continue.
Yeah, do you remember whenever Roddy White was a first-round draft pick? Everybody picked him first round all the time, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's Roddy White.
Yeah, you can't do that now, though. Don't do that now, please.
Don't do that.
Yeah, but he had 1,351 yards. He had more receiving yards than Julio Jones, but he had 3 less touchdowns. He only had 7 touchdowns. And he averaged 14.7 yards per catch, which is a little less than Julio Jones, but that's obviously still a productive receiver.
Yeah, of course. You definitely got a double threat going on, but that's not even all. Let's roll.
That number 3 guy?
Tell me about him.
Harry Douglas.
He's that guy that whenever The other two are covered. Harry Douglas, for some reason, finds that one spot to be open, and he can have a breakout game on any given Sunday, but you just never know when.
Yeah, he's not a guy that you're probably going to draft, maybe unless... No. Maybe if one of the other two get hurt, which hopefully that doesn't happen for a lot of people.
Well, yeah, I mean, if one of these guys, I mean, hopefully this doesn't happen, but if one of these guys gets hurt in training camp, then yeah, I mean, you may want to grab Harry Douglas in the much, much later rounds because nobody's going to think of him. Nobody's going to be like, oh yeah, man, I'm going to grab that guy, in the mid, 5th, 6th, 7th round. Hell no, nobody's going to think that. Late rounds.
Yeah, but real quick, he had 38 catches last year, 396 yards, 1 touchdown. He had about 10 yards per catch average.
Yeah.
That's a so-so third receiver.
That's
a third receiver for their team, not a third receiver for your fantasy team.
Exactly. That's just for the Falcons. That's just for the Falcons, not you.
All right, running backs. They acquired Steven Jackson from the Rams. Steven Jackson just seems like he can play forever, man. I don't know what's going on with that guy.
It's the dreads. It's got to be the dreads, man.
Yeah,
it's motivation.
It's weird, but yeah, whenever he was with the Rams, he had 1,042 yards. He only had 4 touchdowns, but he averaged 4.1 yards per carry. But he did have 321 receiving yards, too, to add towards that, so that's not too bad. 1,300 yards. It's not a terrible number 2 or utility running back. I believe most people will probably take him as their number 2, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, Steven the one thing that gets me about Steven Jackson is that he's had injuries in the past, and that's why I'm not taking this guy as my number 1 running back. And that's why he would be my number 2 or maybe, number 3 or utility, whatever you want to call it. But he's not my number 1 just for that reason. If the guy could stay healthy for an entire season, how many games did he play?
All of them, actually. 16 games.
So he actually stayed healthy the entire season last year.
Completely healthy last year.
Okay, well,
nothing happened to him.
Okay,
but is that going to happen again? He's around 30. He's hit that 30 mark. I'm not sure if he's over 30, but he's getting that age to where the LaDainian Tomlinsons, all those players just start slowing down right when they hit that mark.
And that's the big question with Steven Jackson. Steven, are you going to slow down? You know what? I got an answer. I think he does not slow down. I think in Atlanta, he's going to have a great O-line. I think he's going to plow through defenses. It's Steven Jackson.
Yeah, when they get within the 5-yard line, I think that's who they're going to hand the ball off to.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's Steven Jackson.
All right, their other running back who actually had a decent year last year. How do you even pronounce his name? Jaquez Rogers? Is that how you do it? Jaquez Rogers.
Well, I'm just going to call him Jazz.
Jazz?
All right,
Jazz Rogers?
Yeah, Jazz Rogers.
All right, well, he had 362 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, but the main thing that he does is he catches the ball out of the backfield. Yeah. He had 400 receiving yards and added a touchdown on top of that. So, use that guy as your handcuff. If you're going to draft Steven Jackson, draft Jaquez Rogers in the later rounds as your handcuff just in case, because Steven Jackson's getting old.
Yeah, definitely.
And they also have Jason Snelling. Who knows about that guy? I don't know what he's going to do.
He's going to have a touchdown here and there. There's no telling. The same exact story from last year. He had a touchdown here and there, and you know what? It didn't help a single person in the world because nobody was probably playing him unless they just were the how do you call it? The psychic of the week.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Not many people played him at all.
But you know what? I'm real curious because we just covered running backs, but there's one guy that I really want to talk about, and
he's not retiring.
He's not retiring.
He's not retiring.
This animal's coming back for another season, and I say he's an animal because guess what? He is Matt Ryan's red zone icon. That is his red zone threat right there. He's gonna go to this guy when he can go to him every single time. Who am I talking about?
Not even Tony Gonzalez, but not even in the red zone. Do you realize that Tony Gonzalez had more catches than anybody on that team?
Well, because it's
93.
Because Matt Ryan loves him. It's hard for me to say this, or to think that Matt Ryan didn't have a hand in Tony Gonzalez coming back. It's hard for me to think that he didn't have a hand in that. So
I just think he's going to be really disappointed if they don't win the Super Bowl. That's the only reason he's even coming back. Hey, he doesn't have one.
He got his playoff win.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
Kansas City didn't do anything for him.
So at least he got that.
Yeah, but the guy had 93 catches, 930 yards, 8 touchdowns, and averaged 10 yards a catch.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
He's
you
a great
can't-
guy.
I mean, you can't beat that on tight ends.
And seems how, guess what, fantasy sport fans, seems how this year we're gonna be so short on tight ends.
Even shorter. Did you hear about Rob Gronkowski? He's having his 5th surgery on his forearm, and on top of that, he's having back problems. So they say even after his 5th surgery on his forearm, he may have back surgery to go with that. So that means he could miss all of training camp and maybe even a few games too.
And
so that completely drops him out of the list.
That's what you get for dancing around in Las Vegas. You know, you do that.
All those infections. Why aren't you taking a bath, dude? Take a bath. How are you getting infections in your arm?
Honestly, I don't want to know. But moving on.
All right, I guess we'll go to the kicker, Matt Bryant. Matt Bryant's going to be a good kicker, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
You had this guy in your league last year.
Atlanta puts up points. That's what you want from an offense, to have a kicker. You know, that's the kicker that you want with the high potent offense like that.
Right.
He was 4 for 4 from 50. He made 33 of 38. He had 44 extra points just from the touchdowns alone. He's going to be a good kicker. Get him on your team. Don't draft him till late rounds, probably last, maybe second to last, if you really want him that bad, you know.
Yeah.
But defense-wise, their defense is actually looking pretty good.
Dude, Atlanta's defense last year was on fire. It's hard for me to think that they're not going to continue. I think they're going to come back and be amazing.
Their defense and their offense, I don't know, man. Atlanta has a good chance this year.
No, they are Super Bowl bound. I mean, and there's going to be talk about several teams this year that could really make the Super Bowl. Atlanta's high on that list.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure the Vegas odds are pretty high on them.
Yeah, I've got to say Atlanta's probably one of the top 5.
Yeah, but they acquired O.C. Manure from the Giants last year.
Nice.
O.C. had 6 sacks. He played in all 16 games, even though they rotated him in and out with the whole NASCAR formation that the Giants love to do.
Yeah.
He had 2 forced fumbles. You know, I mean, he's going to be a good acquisition to their defensive line for sure.
I think he's going to do good simply because I don't know if people realize, but you know, OC has a house in Atlanta. This is where the guy lives.
He loves Atlanta.
Yeah, he's a hometown boy here, so he's going to come in. And for people who are looking for a good defensive end into your fantasy lineup, if you're playing a defensive players league, then OC, you may want to take a hard look at this guy.
Yeah, their linebackers, they have Sean Witherspoon. He had 3 sacks, 70 tackles. Asante Samuel, he had 5 interceptions for a touchdown. You know, their first round draft pick, they went at number 22, they got Desmond Trufant. This guy was an animal in college. He was so good, man. And that's gonna stop some of the receivers that they're going against, you know. And then their free safety, Thomas Dakoud. That guy's good. He had 62 solo tackles with 6 interceptions. He was their leading interception machine last year, you know.
Yeah.
Then their strong safety, they have William Moore. He only played in 12 games and had 4 interceptions in that 12 games. But if their entire defense can stay healthy and their offense can put up points, to have Atlanta's defense as your starting defense, even their players in defensive player leagues, but even as a whole, Atlanta Falcons won't be a bad defense.
No, not at all. I think in the much later rounds of your draft, when it's time to pick a defense, Atlanta should definitely be on your list. I would definitely be. They're on my list. I'll tell you that, and they're on my list because I know what they did last year. I know they're going to repeat the same production. And that's why they're on my list.
There we go. That's it for the Falcons.
Boom! Hey, Fantasy Sport Fan Nation. Be sure to check out our free exclusive daily fantasy sports sites review. Get this free 29-page report reviewing the top 11 daily fantasy sports sites only at fantasysportfans.com.